I really don't have a dog in this fight, but I got to tell you this. There are two prominent Americans who are predicting the outcome of the 2024 presidential election, and neither one of them is a supporter of the person they are predicting is going to win. The first person, the first prominent American who is making a prediction is probably one of the best qualified people in the country to make such a prediction, and that is pollster Frank Luntz. He leans kind of Republican. He's Republicanish. My understanding is he's done work for the Republicans, but he also appears on CNN, so he's kind of middle of the road with a leaning to the right or to the Republican Party, but he's not really what you would call in the T-word camp. The T-word is Trump. I'm kind of reluctant to say it on YouTube because they don't seem to like him, but that's beside the point. All right, so Frank Luntz probably knows more than anyone else in the country about these things because he's got his thumb on the pulse all the time. I mean, that's all this guy does. He does it for a living, and he's one of the best at it, maybe the best at it. And he was asked if he were to bet $150,000 on the outcome of the 2024 election. Who would he choose to be the winner? Not that this would be his favorite, but who does he think is actually going to be the winner? And he said the T word. He said Donald Trump. And he seemed to say it with a spirit of consternation, not that he was happy about it. But I said, this is, and I'm not quoting his exact words, but I said in effect that this is kind of odd considering, the January 6th fiasco, the impeachment thing, that this guy could actually win. Well, it tells me a couple things, and we're going to get to the second person who I think is really going to be a shocker, but in just a moment. But that tells me a couple things, that the impeachment and the January 6th fiasco really aren't holding much water. Why not? They're not having much effect on the voters. Why not? I think it's because the voters see that the impeachment fiasco and the January 6th fiasco were just political. That there wasn't any real substance to the allegations being made, that the Democrats are just taking advantage of opportunities and exploiting them to their advantage, which is what politicians do. I'm not saying Republicans don't do the same thing, because, yeah, I guess they do. But that's the way it is. And the way that it is that the impeachment and the January 6th fiasco just aren't holding up, if anything. Now tell me if you agree with me on this, but I would dare to venture, I would say that if anything, they're actually helping the T-word's chances of becoming president, because they're kind of making him a victim. And everybody feels sorry for the victim. Okay, let's get off topic for just a second to illustrate this point. Do you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis in Europe? That is to say, the thing with Ukraine, which was Russia's missile crisis, and unlike the United States, it had the Bay of Pigs fiasco. Russia actually did something about it, and they invaded Ukraine. You know that. That's not news. All right. Well, the reason we bring that up is when it initially happened, everybody felt sorry for poor little Ukraine. Russia was the bully, Ukraine was the victim, and that's how we think. And the reason I bring that up is I think one of the reasons that the impeachment and the January 6th fiasco are not holding water is because they're making Trump to be the victim. Trump is like the Ukraine. Everyone feels sorry for him. And they're not going to throw billions of dollars at him like Biden did, but they are going to throw their support toward him because of this. And you stop and think about this. Did this not occur to the Democrats that... Yeah, I think it probably did. They probably sat down at their little smoke-filled room, or formerly smoke-filled room, and after griping about the climate crisis, then they decided to plan a strategy about how best to derail Donald Trump, and they said, you know what, this is a Hail Mary, it's probably not going to work. It may actually work in his favor, but we can't just sit back and do nothing, so let's do this January 6th fiasco thing, and let's do this impeachment thing, and let's do something else that we haven't heard of yet they're probably going to pull out of their hat. between now and the November election, yeah, that's probably what they did. They had no other choice. It was either just sit back and let it happen or give it their best shot, their Hail Mary. All right, now who is this second prominent American who, I've got to say, vicariously predicted the outcome of the 24 election? That individual was former President Barack Obama. And I got to say former president. I don't know why, because everybody knows he's a former president, but you just got to say those things. But do I have to say former Attorney General Eric Holder? Yeah, probably. There's a lot of people who don't know who he is, but he is and was a confidant of Barack Obama. Now, he's the one who actually said it, but he said this, speaking to USA Today, and here's a couple ifs. If Trump were, the T word were to win the Republican nomination and defeat President Biden in November, there could be incalculable damage brought upon the country. Well, isn't that relative? Now, Barack Obama didn't say it, but when asked, Holder said that this was Obama's opinion as well. So we would say that Obama vicariously said it by proxy through Eric Holder. In other words, they're worried about it. Now, what does that tell you? Well, what it tells me, a couple things. Number one is these guys aren't behind Joe Biden. I mean, they didn't come right out and say it, but they're saying, Trump is going to win. At least this is what I'm reading, in what they're saying. The T word is going to win, and the B word is going to lose, and that's going to be devastating. It's going to cause incalculable damage. I can't even say incalculable, but it's going to cause all this damage. What they're doing, I think, what Holder is saying, Obama vicariously through Holder, I think they're saying, we need to find somebody who will defeat Donald, who will defeat the T word in November. Guess what? I think they got somebody. I think they have somebody in mind ready to run against Biden. What I think they're doing is I think they're softening the ground in front of Biden so he will trip and fall. They're sending these dog whistle messages to the voters. Hey, look, if we nominate Biden, this is what I think they're saying. If we nominate Biden, we're setting ourselves up for incalculable damage because there's a good chance that Trump's going to win. Just look at what Frank Luntz said. Now, they didn't actually say that, but that seems to be their implication. At least that's what I'm picking up on it. If you agree with me, you can say so in the comments. If you disagree with me, you can say so. It's perfectly okay to disagree with me as long as you don't use profanity and get nasty. Then I'll just delete your comment. But if you disagree with me, sure, go ahead. I don't care. All right, so that tells me that Obama and Holder don't want Biden to be the nominee because they believe that Trump will do incalculable damage. But you got to keep this in mind. Incalculable damage, isn't that kind of relative, What is damage that so great you can't calculate it? I mean, what is that? Because if the T word wins in November, the people who voted for the T word are not going to agree with Obama and Holder that this is a bad thing, that they're not saying this is an opportunity for damage. They're saying this is an opportunity for resuscitation, build back better, really this time. So it's kind of relative, right? What is damage? Well, it depends on what you think construction is. Some people think construction of a border wall is damage to globalism. And it is. It is damage to globalism. But some people say it's damage to nationalism. That is to say, not putting up the wall is damage to nationalism, and it advances globalism. And they're right. So it is damage. Just depends on either way you look at it. It is damage or it is repair. Depends on which side of the fence you're on, which side of the border you're on. And I happen to be on the north side of the border. So I advocate a border. I don't know about you. If you got something out of this video, we invite you to be part of our family. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up if you think it deserves it. Leave a comment if you've got something to express, want to start a conversation, participate in a conversation, share this on social media. I'm telling you, that helps a lot. And we'll see you next time.